And today we're just gonna be talking it up. We're gonna be doing some good spiritual game for your brain, good spiritual game for your brain. And this gonna be, gonna be going on this tangent, you know, Mars Day. So with it being a Mars Day, we're gonna be experiencing those energies of Mars, experiencing those energies of passions, motivation, goals, desires, making sure that we're, aiming for our goals, setting the right intentions today, making sure that we're actually striving for these things, making sure that we're actually having the will and the motivation to get up and start to take those steps to be able to reach these things and things of those natures. So whatever you're doing, just make sure that you're formulating those energies in some way, shape, or form, so that you can be able to take those steps towards that outcome and be able to actually manifest a physical experience through a person, place, or thing, to actually be a physical representation of the energy that you put in, that you gave to the universe as an offering. So whatever you put in, the whatever energy you put in, that'll be the same things you get back. But the topic of this video, what we're going to be talking about is, trusting the process and going with the flow. So those are key factors when understanding spirituality and just understanding how things are formulated in the one, two, and third dimension. Because when it comes to the way that we are creating as spirits and how things condense and become to be in one, two, and third dimension, this kind of puts us in a space where sometimes we're put in certain circumstances and situations where we may not feel like we have the capability most of the time, or we may feel like things is not working into our favor. And then this also puts us in a space where we may feel like, okay, sometimes I might be getting the things I want or need, but we can't let that kind of overthrow us or outweigh the types of ideas and the feelings and the mentalities on our mind. Because if we let the one, two, and third dimension dictate our actions and dictate our internal realm, that's what's going to be fashioning our mind and fashioning the way that we're trying to, conduct things and actually be able to see the full maximum outcome and actually be able to see that potential and be able to experience that potential in the one, two, and third dimension, because we didn't develop a good sufficient, spaceship. We didn't develop a good sufficient mentality that can be able to withstand those astral travels. They can play out in the one, two, and third dimension like you're overcoming something, you're enduring something. So keep that in mind as well, because that's where the cliche term comes in when people be like, trust the process. Regardless of what's playing out in the one, two, and third dimension, you have the right mentality. So you're in a spiritual space, producing the right thoughts and feelings to give fuel to that spaceship, so that you can be able to withstand that astral travel weathering system that you're experiencing in the one, two, and third dimension. When it comes to things that may not be going your way, you may be getting let down, you may be getting denied, you know, things may be happening to you that don't look like it's in your favor. You may have individuals around you trying to play you, trying to plot on you and things of those natures. You may have people around you that's not really on agreeable terms as you and things of those natures, but that's really not going to matter, because if you just got a sufficient spaceship in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, then you will be able to maneuver and know how to navigate throughout and regardless of the one, two, and third dimension and how these scenarios are playing down here. Because the types of energies that you're putting in, the types of fuel that you're putting into that spaceship, so it can be able to go the distance, it's going to be energies that's going to be able to withstand those types of currents, withstand those types of collisions that may be going on in that little spiritual location that you're going through, that everybody may get stuck in, because everybody may get stuck in that little spiritual space. Everybody may get stuck on that street because they're running out of gas. They don't know how to maneuver. They don't know how to drive. So you have to be the one that knows how to actually put in the right ideas, the right thoughts and feelings, and have the right mentality, so you could continuously have gas into your spaceship, so you can be the representation and the individual that knows how to go the distance, regardless of who's going to be there, regardless of who's going to show up, regardless of who's going to be there participating, cheering you on at the end of the day. As long as you know how to get to that esoteric space and location where you're going to be able to reach a sense of peace and reach a sense of, be able to see the rainbow instead of getting lost into that little spiritual location where everybody else is at, who really just all that spiritual location, just clashing with each other, clashing with ideas, clashing with mental forms, clashing with thoughts and things of those natures. That'll be you being a good esoteric pilot. So it's all about being a good esoteric pilot and not being scared to actually venture off into the uncharted, into the unknown, into the unfamiliar. And how that's going to be played out in the one, two, and third dimension is going to be seen as you down here being something new, unique, and one of a kind. You down here bringing something new that was never seen before. You down here playing out some new gifts, talents, and traits and things of those natures that nobody knew was possible because you went to a different space. You didn't just stay in that small little spiritual space where everybody be at, producing thoughts and feelings, emanating thoughts and feelings, and creating things. So you went beyond. So you got to keep that in mind when it comes to trusting the process and not getting stuck, just not getting stuck, or not feeling like you're incapable, because those energies are also going to be, playing a part when it comes to you going through these circumstances and these situations. You may feel incapable. Those may be some of the energies that you may have to overcome. Those may be some of the energies that you may have to endure. Those may be some of the energies that you have to withstand. Those energies of feeling incapable. Those energies of feeling stuck. Those energies of feeling like you can't. Those doubt. You may be dealing with doubt, and they can be affecting your self-esteem and things of those natures. So we got to make sure that we're not letting those types of energies throw us off course when it comes to us trying to reach a destination in the esoteric realm, so we can be able to have that sense of peace, have that sense of satisfaction, have that sense of gratification. And in the one, two, and third dimension, that's just you utilizing those elemental alchemies to play out these natures and these characters below. And you just a happy individual, You happy, you in a better space. You feeling prosperous. You feeling like you can do something. You feeling like you got things going for yourself. You're not in a low demonic space where you feel like things isn't working your way and you got regrets. And you got all those types of energies holding you back. You got all those types of energies playing out through your mannerisms and your facial features. So when coming across like a spiritual person like me, we don't really have to listen to the words or the logic that you're trying to convey that's coming out of your mouth, because your body language will be explaining it all. When it comes to the spiritual space that you're in, that you're playing out that personification as below. So you got to know how to build, all right, got to know how to build a sufficient spaceship, build a sufficient mentality, so you can fly to a different location and get out of that location where them demons may be, that's keeping you in that spiritual space, that's keeping you in that docile space, that's keeping you feeling like you're regretting, that's keeping you feel like you got that's putting you on a guilt trip and things of those natures, and make you feel like you're doing something wrong, make you feel like you're not worth it, making you feel like you're not valuable and things of those natures. You got to get out of that space, even if that comes to having to sacrifice and having to detach from certain people, places, and things that you built rapport with, that you built a connection with. Because some of us may have just built connections based on, things of the one, two, and third dimension when it comes to eating, sleeping, and fucking and things of those natures, and not really having an actual meaning behind the people, places, and things that we were trying to connect with. So that can play a toll too when it comes to us developing relationships and things of those natures. So there may be some reason some of us may have harder to these experiences, just based upon, just wanting to fulfill a space and not having a purpose, or not having something else that we can fulfill that space in. So that led our mind to being idle. And an idle mind is always the devil's playground. And us just being in that space, making deals with the devil, we actually manifesting a scenario or circumstance or a situation to bring us another person, place, or thing to represent what the devil looks like at the 123rd dimension. And it was all sweet. It was all good at first until months and months and months later goes down the line, and then we realize the person that we may be waking up next to is our enemy, somebody that's plotting on us, somebody that doesn't have the same goals as us, somebody that maybe was just using us to get in a position. So once they get in that position, they could throw us to the curve and things of those natures. So you got to be careful when it comes to the people, places, and things that you're letting into your esoteric household. So you got to look at you got to value your esoteric household. You got to value that. You got to make sure that you got, good fences, good heavily gate fences around your esoteric household. You got to make sure that inside your esoteric household, you got, marble floors inside your esoteric household, and things of those natures, and not just no ranky, ranky little esoteric household. You know what I'm saying? No little shack and a little teepee. You know what I'm saying? But we're talking internally right now. You can have all those things externally. You can have nothing externally, but internally, you got everything. So you got to understand where I'm coming from when I'm speaking in those terms. So externally, you can have a shack or a teepee, but internally, you got a mansion. You know what I'm saying? You got something that money can't buy. You got a castle. You got castles. You got a whole geographical location. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it plays out. That's how this energy plays out in the esoteric realm. So because as spirits, we get so lost into the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension and chalk it up like the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension is the end all and be all. And that kind of takes us away from actually being able to see what we have and value what we actually have. And those are things that's internally. What created the external representations in the first place? Let's get back to that starting point. Our internal natures. Our internal natures is what produced the external natures that we see, that we can touch physically, that's tangible. The formation of something, the accumulation of something. So you always got to keep that in mind when it comes to not letting the external or our external circumstances and situations or environment or people, places, and things dictate how we feel about ourselves and how we maneuver in the subconscious realm. So we can't let the conscious realm dictate our subconscious realm, because our subconscious realm is kind of a little bit more important than the actual conscious realm, the things that we're consciously aware of, because we can see in the world that we got people who has millions and millions and millions of dollars end up drowning in the bathtub at things of those natures, because they had all these flashy, glamorous things. They had all this money. They had all these things in this Jewish world, in this world, but they didn't have, it all together when it comes to what was going on with them subconsciously, what was going on with them internally, and things of those natures. So we just got to make sure that we got our internal straight. And this is what drives people crazy as well. You know what I'm saying? They can have everything in the world, materially, money-wise, security-wise, but the contracts and the conditions that their spirit got to go through to uphold these shapes and forms, it plays out as a burden on their spirit, because some people just want to be free. Some people just want to be at peace. You know what I'm saying? So having all these things in your heart, having all these things in your mentality can play out as straining and depression. And these are the real things that leads to people going crazy or actually hurting themselves in so many shapes or forms, trying to uphold an image too much when it comes to how other individuals perceive them, how they got to present themselves in the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension, how they got to carry themselves. You know what I'm saying? They got to put on a suit every day. They got to wear bucket hats every day. You know what I'm saying? They got to put on a thing every day to cover their face every day. When all in actuality, the spirit just want to be free. Your spirit just want to be naked. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you just want to be naked. Sometimes you don't want to. Sometimes you don't. For female, they don't want to put on makeup to impress somebody. They just want to be themselves. So you got to understand those energies. At the end of the day, trying to put on a facade and trying to uphold that facade, but you see that start to accumulate. You see that character that you're expressing start to accumulate in the one, two, and third dimension, and you start to receive, money and things and fruits of your labors from it. But behind closed doors, you know that you're sacrificing your individuality in order to play this role. And it kind of comes down to how long is you going to be able to play this role? How long is you going to be able to be this character that you created? When is you going to come out? When is we going to see you? When is we going to see what's really going on in your heart? When is we going to know what's actually going on with you? You know what I'm saying? When is we going to be able to understand your sentiment and not no synthetic sentiment that, whatever industry that you may be in want you to express? When is we going to see the real you? You know what I'm saying? Those types of energies. So, and it gets to a point where if we're not able to actually express that or feel comfortable with expressing that, then that puts us in an uncomfortable space as a spirit. That puts us in an uncomfortable space where we're like, dang, I can't be myself. What's the point? What's the point of myself? Then you may lose yourself within that image. That's the worst thing about it. You may even lose yourself. So you got to make sure that you don't lose yourself within these images. You got to make sure that you don't lose yourself within your creations. So always know that you are the creator, not the creations, because it's real easy to get lost into the creations because you may not have the right starting point, because you may not have this knowledge, because you wasn't taught this in school, because you didn't come across spiritual people online, because what's being programmed in your mind is things that get you lost into the creation instead of you being able to go to that original starting point and know that you are the creator of your reality. You are the creator of this existence, not the creation that lies within this existence. You are a piece of the puzzle to make the actual puzzle. So understanding that can kind of put you in a better position when it comes to you going down specific trains of thoughts and lines of reasonings and just interacting with specific people, places, and things in general. You'll be able to have a more broader understanding of what's actually going on within the circumstances. So this makes you the spiritual adult in any way, shape, or form. Regardless if you're around people that's older than you, and regardless if you're around, elders, and if you're the youngest in the pack, in the group, you're gonna play out those energies of being like the OG, the big homie, you know what I'm saying? Because it's a spiritual thing that's going on. It's something else that's going on. It's God into play, you know what I'm saying? We just can't put it all on what we see, what's in front of us, because we all got those parents that we all know that we're more smarter than. We all got those parents that we know that we got more wisdom and intellect than, but they may just have experienced life more than you and this carnation cycle. But when it comes to that whole carnation, incarnation, reincarnation cycle in general, you may have been doing that process longer than them. So understanding that's how you understand what level you are on a totem pole, and in this melting pot that we call existence and life, and things of those natures. And then we're also going to be looking at some other energies, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to going with the flow. So when going with the flow, this is really important. Going with the flow of life, it's really important, because you gotta look at how energies play out in the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension, and how energies play out in general. And let's take a look at the spirit. What is your spirit? Your spirit is nothing. Your spirit is shapeless, formless, non-flammable, and odorless. So, and your spirit is the closest thing to nothing. And what is nothing? What can we do with nothing? We have all possibilities. with nothing. You know what I'm saying? No thing. So we can create a form out of that thing because we're the spiritual magicians. We're the spiritual magi's. We're the spiritual witches and wizards. You know what I'm saying? So you can do a lot with no thing. You can create a lot with no thing. You can create all possibilities. You can bring all possibilities down here with nothing. You know what I'm saying? Turn nothing into something. And that something will be seen like all possibilities. But first you got to know how to get to that space. First you got to know how to be naked. First you got to get out of expectations. First you got to get out of, you know, things of those natures. When it comes to expectations, you're not receiving things in a timely fashion. You're not getting things in a timely fashion. You're not getting people to cater towards you, or you're not getting that validation or that praise. You know what I'm saying? So being mindful of those energies, that's how you can be able to kind of decipher between things that you need to be getting lost into and things that you don't need to be getting lost into. Because when it comes to going with the flow, we got to understand that everything is reversed in the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension. And the more that you try to force things, the more that you're going to start to see things run away from you. So just going with the flow, getting out of those expectations, getting out of that need of validation, and just being, you know, just being a spiritual being, just being in your space, letting things come and go, letting the universe work through you and flow through you, instead of you getting lost into one of these polarizations of thinking that the universe is against you and thinking that the universe is working in your favor. That's you getting lost into one of the polarizations. Because if you're thinking that the universe is in your favor, then you're going to be unbalanced on this side. And then once something do happen that works against you, you're going to be unbalanced on this side. So that's you being unpolarized, or being lost into a bias, or not having that spiritual equilibrium. So it all comes down to us just having to let the universe work through us, rather that we experience something negatively or positively. It's all about just looking at that, what we experience, and we can kind of carve it and shape it up to, okay, it may have went into my favor, especially if something negative happened. We could look at it like, okay, I'm glad that this what happened was negative, because now it's playing out in my favor. I remixed it. I convinced myself that whatever it was that was negative, that it went into my favor. Or that's you showing spiritual strength. That's you showing that you able to endure, and that endurance substance that can get you a long way, especially with that being fuel that you add to your esoteric spaceship. So with that endurance substance, and you adding that fuel to your esoteric spaceships, and you trying to go the distance and whatever goal that you're trying to achieve, or whatever horizon or rainbow that you're trying to reach, that endurance fuel, that endurance substance, added like artillery to your spaceship, you're going to be able to withstand even the strongest or the heaviest currents. So in the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension, that's going to be looking like, okay, things is just falling down around you, but you got endurance. You know how to endure, so you're not budging. You like a Taurus. You know what I'm saying? You like a bull. You're not budging, regardless of what's happening. And then once everything fall down, once everything, you know, is destroyed, and everybody else done fell down with it, you the last one standing. So guess what you're able to do? You're able to pick up all the scraps. You're able to pick up everything and then build it again, make it even better this time. You know what I'm saying? Having endurance and being able to be in that space. But, you know, some people get scared of energy. Some people get scared of that because they may be spiritually weak. They may be, you know, lost into expectations. They may have grew up sheltered. So they may run away from those energies. You know what I'm saying? They may run away from that energy signature that's coming into their life, or having to endure something. But you got to keep that in mind. And then when it comes to, just going with the flow, this kind of puts us in a space where we can't force things too much, because the more we try to force things, the more we start to see things run away from us. You know what I'm saying? Because things play out in reverse in the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension than how it plays out in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension. Because in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, that consists on us having to be a little bit more lighter, a little bit more freer. And the more lighter and freer that we are, then that'll be how we're going to be condensing these actual experiences into the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension that can be a person, place, or thing. But have you ever just been in like a relationship, or have you ever just like been around groups of people or did something, and then y'all was you had like this ideal in your mind, like, okay, I need to force it, I need to actually go out and get it. And then as soon as you try to force it, it don't happen, because you're building resistance with the universe. We got to start building resistance with the universe at the end of the day, because that's all that we're doing. Because some things isn't meant for us, and we got to know that. We got to know that some things isn't just meant for us, regardless on what it is, what we think it is, and what we think they will be with or without it. Some things aren't just meant for us. So the more that we're trying to force things to go in our favor, then that's us playing out some demonic Luciferian types of energies and being a demon at the end of the day, or being self-entitled. And then once we get that fruit from that tree, we bite it. It may not even be juicy. You know what I'm saying? It may not even be a juicy fruit. That may be a tree that got ants on those fruits and things of those nature. So keep that in mind as well. Once we finally get it, we bite it. It's not even good. It's not even juicy. It got ants in it. And now we're unfulfilled. Then we look around. Everybody's gone, because they left with the wind, because they wasn't forcing nothing. You was the only one forcing something. So you got to keep that in mind. And you may be stuck in this self-entitled energy that you may not even want to let it go. You know what I'm saying? You may try to do it again, try to force it again. And the same thing that you're trying to gravitate towards you, manifest towards you, start to run away. We can look at it like with money, circumstances, jobs, opportunities, things of those natures. The more that we try to force it, the more that we start to see things running away from us. Relationships, however you want to chalk it down to. So just always keep that in mind, and always be in that spiritual space, so that you can be able to go to that starting point and be able to emanate and produce your own thoughts and feelings, and develop a halo and an awareness around that spiritual space, yourself in that space, so you won't be naked. So you can be able to see those characters in the faces in that spiritual space, so that you will know how to maneuver. And especially if you're already the spiritual adult. If you're already the spiritual adult, then you will know how to, get with the game, get with the program faster than another individual that you can see from a distance, trying to force things into their favor, trying to force things to go their way. And you may see things not going their way in the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension, and they may not know it. What's going on, what's happening in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, and why it's playing out like that in the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension. Because the spiritual space that they're in, they're trying to force things to go in their favor. They're trying to force things to go their way. And that's why they may not be receiving the reciprocation in the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension. And you will be able to see that from a distance and know not to go down those trains of thoughts and lines of reasonings as a spiritual adult, as a spiritual adeptus, and things of those natures. So you'll be saving yourself. And then you just being in that space that you in, you know what I'm saying? You'll have other individuals looking at you like, dang, things going your way. You ain't worried. You ain't stressing about too much. You don't feel obligated too much. You just being yourself at the end of the day. So that's all you really got to do. Is just be yourself. The better that you're able to be yourself, the better that you're going to be able to actually manifest circumstances and situations that's actually for you. So those are the types of spaces that we need to be in, even when it comes to, how we're going about relationships, how we're going about business partnerships, how we're going about jobs and associations and things of those natures. We always want to put ourselves in a space where we're just trying to carve out circumstances and situations that matches our individuality. that matches us. So you can't get lost into these societal constructs of wanting to be like everybody else and wanting to follow the pack or play that follow the leader type of energy. You got to be you. You got to be one of a kind. And you may gravitate those one of a kind individuals in your space. And then y'all been in that space producing thoughts and feelings, condensing that cloud into the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension. You may not know what type of oversoul may want to utilize that alchemy in that shape and form to bring blessings and rain down into y'all life. You know what I'm saying? So you got to keep that in mind when it comes to, just understanding the spiritual realm and just having to be yourself, because they try to take us from that. They try to take that from us. They always been trying to take that from us, even since we was born. You get born into this world programmed to be a GMO. You get born into this world programmed to think and feel like somebody else and not be able to have your own original idea or starting point. Having to go out somebody else watered down idea or starting point about what's actually going on around us and the world that we're experiencing. We get born into this world in that fashion, and that's how our mind get fashioned. So those are going to be the types of results that we're going to be producing in our life. That when it comes to us actually producing these things, our spiritual lineage and getting rich off of us having to go to college and having our own colleges, having our own banking systems, these individuals are getting rich off of us falling under their categories and their indoctrinations and their denominations and their templates and things of those natures. These individuals are getting rich, and they're kind of taking us away from that space where we're able to go outside and observe these things ourselves and come to the same starting points that they came to, so we can be able to have $1 million, have $1 billion in our bank account, produce that generational wealth. You know what I'm saying? So you got to keep in mind what's actually going on in the spiritual realm and the types of contracts and negotiations that's going on in the spiritual realm as well, and how things are played out. And this has been going on for a long time. You know what I'm saying? This ain't nothing new. This has been going on for a long time, and we can't really point the finger. Can't nobody really point the finger. Can't nobody be coping, because that's really what's going on right now in the world. Everybody just coping. People just coping. But these are the things that we negotiated, because we may have been some of these spirits, making these negotiations, coming across the sea to different geographical locations and negotiating things on those natures. So we can't be pointing the finger like we ain't the ones created it. We ain't the ones who did it. We ain't the ones who built this world. So we the ones who built this world. We can't be crying about we're not getting what we think we deserve, because that's what we negotiated at the end of the day. So we got to get out of our feelings, and we got to start better negotiations, coming together, showing them that we're the actual power, showing them that we're the actual what's actually valuable, and not these material things that they're placing so much value on. At the end of the day, their pockets is getting bigger, while we're suffering from mental illnesses and organ illnesses, and stressing, overthinking, worrying about how today is going to be, and those things are trying to rub two nickels together. You know what I'm saying? These individuals ain't got to worry about that, because guess who faces on the nickel? Their grandparents, their aunties and uncles. Faces are on the actual nickels. So we got to understand what's actually going on in this world. And then they're not going to let us get too much into our power. They're not going to let us get too comfortable with standing comfortably within our power, because we start to apply those energies, they're going to start blowing us up like they're doing overseas in the third world. But they got them lost into some other types of things, They got them lost into religion and things of those natures. They got them lost into, they're blowing them up because sun positions, and because the position of where the sun is at. It gets little simple shit like that. Like, y'all think it's like simple, but these individuals take it to the heart. You know what I'm saying? These individuals, they get deep with it. These individuals really seriously with it. You know what I'm saying? Like they built their world. Like, from every little brick and corner of the street, this is how they built their world, looking at the sun position. You know what I'm saying? Tracking the sun position, coming over here, fucking our grandmothers and shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's all that they do. So they take this heart. They look at this like this is how they live. You know, this is how they get this is how they get on their 1-2. So y'all gonna get down to lay down. You know what I'm saying? They look at us like we just gonna have to get down to lay down. So in some way, shape, or form, you know, we can't be mad because we wouldn't have, you know, food on our food. We wouldn't have clothes. We wouldn't have shelter. We wouldn't have security. Things of those natures. We'll be getting blown up and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like third world countries and shit. But we can't be getting mad and shit. You know what I'm saying? We just gotta. It's all out of love. You know what I'm saying? It's all out of love. But we can still, you know, be able to have our own opinion about what's going on. We can still have our own opinion about what's actually going on. And they can still, you know, we can still be able to see them start to work with us and things of those natures. So we can start to come together and start to build, you know what I'm saying? Have new something new in the education system instead of their theologies and ideologies and Pythagorean and Plato's and, you know, things of those natures that get you lost into Elon Musk, that get you lost into, you know, Neil deGrasse type of sciences and things of those natures. Actually teach us these actual natures. You know what I'm saying? If I knew about astrology, if I knew how to go outside and put the mathematics together myself when I was a little kid and understanding my internal and external microcosm and things of those natures, you know how cold I'll be? You gotta think about it. You know how cold you'll be right now? We gotta wait later on into life until we just stumble across pages like this and people that have the right starting point about things to actually be able to get into these things and have some real understanding and be able to get to that real space where you can start to actually produce and co-create with the universe instead of getting lost into these watered down facets and knowledges of esoteric knowledge and things of those natures. You know what I'm saying? The actual indigenous Indian knowledge, you know what I'm saying? They can start to implement those into the education system. They can start to put some of our faces on these billboards, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Have a new possibility. Just don't keep us limited and restrained into how they want to see things that come from their mind. You know what I'm saying? There's other things out here in the universe than you. You know what I'm saying? It's other things out here in the universe than you. We don't want to see our little faces all the time, you know what I'm saying? We want to see our face on a $100 bills all the time, you know what I'm saying? That's all they're trying to do. That's all they want to do. And that's all they do, to stay in a position of power. But I ain't trying to be rebellious. I'm just speaking my mind. I'm just expressing my sentiment. I ain't trying to be rebellious or nothing. But yeah, we just got to keep that in mind, you know, when just understanding these spiritual energies just playing out in the sky, and just understanding these spiritual energies of, you know, just life in general. You know, just going with the flow. Don't try to force nothing too much, because the more that you try to force something, then that's the more that you're going to start to see things running away. And then I had made another point. I forgot. But those were like one of the two main topics I wanted to touch on. But yeah, it's been Huila 360. Good game for your spiritual brain on this Mars Day. Hope y'all enjoyed this video. Peace.